as an international business and development professional with 15 years experience in academia, nonprofit, and private sector work. Most recently, Ryan served as senior manager with CUSO International, a Canadian charity working globally to end poverty and inequality. In the global WASH sector, Ryan has worked or consulted with such organizations as Give Power Foundation, One Drop Foundation, the Water Institute at the University of North Carolina, as well as the governments of Malawi, Haiti, and United Arab Emirates. Ryan's educational background is equally as stellar. He has a Bachelor of Commerce from Concordia University in Montreal, an MBA from York University in Toronto, specializing in strategic management and Latin American studies. Also a master's degree of public health from the University of North Carolina, specializing in health behavior and health education. He has traveled the world in short and long-term work assignments in such places as Brazil, Colombia, Kenya, Malawi, UAE, Ethiopia, Russia, Haiti, and many more. I believe the count at this point in time is 60 countries. Ryan is fluent in French, is comfortable with Spanish, and he can get by in Portuguese, and he's getting even better at Haitian Creole. And if all of this sounds impressive, and it truly is impressive, there is one piece of Ryan's bio that I have saved until last. In May of 2012, Ryan received a certificate in peace and conflict resolution from UNC after having been awarded a Rotary International World Peace Fellowship. That is right, my friends, he is one of us. I met Ryan in 2011 when past RI President Kalyan Banerjee and I were at a World Water Summit. Our paths have crossed over the years, primarily through conventions. But then came the time for us to find an executive director. We made an exhaustive search. I will say to you, it was an exhaustive search, interviewing candidates from all over the world. Then to come and choose a person with such close ties to Rotary was incredibly gratifying. Our executive director is highly analytical, with a strategic mindset, skilled in capacity development and knowledge management. Moreover, and almost more importantly, Ryan Rowe cares for the people of Haiti. He embraces the vision of HANWASH, and has said on more than one occasion, publicly and personally, that his 20 plus years of educational and work experience has uniquely prepared him to arrive at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, fellow WASH warriors, it is my pleasure to introduce and present to you the Executive Director of HANWASH, Mr. Ryan Rowe.
John, thanks for the introduction. It's hard to believe we've known each other for 10 years already. You know, you did indeed save the best for last. One of the proudest moments of my career is having gotten the Peace Fellowship. And I really like the term WASH warrior. I think I might adopt that for myself. So, you know, back then when I met John, I was just starting my career in the area of public health, water and sanitation. And at every turn, I faced encouragement and support from Rotarians to pursue my dream of making a change in the world. Before I started the Peace Fellowship, I had a job in corporate finance in the Middle East, working for an Australian investment bank. We financed, you know, multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects for real estate and industrial developments, things like wastewater treatment plants, roads, large-scale air conditioning generators, and distribution systems. Nothing truly exciting. I liked the work. It was a, you know, work hard, play hard environment, but it was missing that connection to the community, you know, the feeling that I was helping those in need. And since it was a really affluent lifestyle out there in Dubai and even a bit of a bubble and a transient community, I felt disconnected. Growing up, I'd always been involved in different kinds of volunteer initiatives. That's how I was raised by my parents. So I was really desperately looking for an outlet for my humanitarian side out there. And I began to volunteer my time and raise money for charitable projects. I even started a little nonprofit organization. We used Facebook to connect local residents in the city with nonprofits that needed volunteers, you know, book sales, a blood drive, a beach cleanup, you name it. Small, really grassroots initiatives that inspired folks to give their time. I think that all of you can relate. It turned out that that work was actually a lot more satisfying than my high-paying job in an investment bank. And I realized that, like Rotarians, my true purpose is really to help others. I need to feel like I'm making a difference. And I really like to do it well. I love to do things well. As John mentioned, I'm highly analytical, and I like to look at the things I do, and I ask myself, what can I learn from this? How can I do better? At a certain point, I realized I needed to give up my job and devote myself full time to my passion. I asked myself, how could I do more with a career in humanitarian assistance? And that led me to the Peace Fellowship, to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which offers a world-class program in public health and has several decades of experience in water and sanitation. I decided that if I could pursue a degree in public health with the Peace Fellowship, I could get the technical tools necessary to design, implement, and evaluate projects and make them truly sustainable. And you know, the added benefit was that it was going to connect me to a group, a family of people worldwide, 1.2 million members strong, that would enable me to be able to carry out my vision for helping the world. You know, back then, 10 years ago, the World Water Challenge seemed daunting. Hundreds of millions of people without access to safe drinking water or sanitation. If we fast forward to today, we've seen a lot of progress, but there are still a lot of challenges to deal with on different fronts. And the challenge remains as great today in Haiti as it did back then, 10 years ago. Our data collected by our partner, Haiti Outreach, indicates that about 50% of water supply infrastructure in the country is no longer functioning or is not delivering safe drinking water. And that's often the case because the facilities aren't managed well, they're not inspected, and local communities can't come up with the money for repairs. We've seen that the government also needs support in coordinating its development partners, whether it's large multilateral or bilateral donors or NGOs, small and large. We've also seen that the government is not able to devote the fiscal resources or is stretched too thin or lacks the capacity to enforce its role as the regulator of the sector. That's where HANWASH comes in. Our role is to basically provide a vision and basically bring together the funds and the partnerships to be able to make a difference in the sector, collaborating with the government authorities the entire stretch of the way and mobilizing the community through local Rotary clubs. Two of the projects I'm most excited about within the HANWASH portfolio are our collaboration. One of them is the collaboration with the National Observatory of Dnepa, our government partner, where we're building the capacity of water and sanitation technicians in communities to collect high quality data on water and sanitation access and upload it into a publicly accessible platform. This data will serve as the baseline for HANWASH, from which we'll be able to measure results over time longitudinally, and be able to access the impact on the communities we're serving. That portal also is publicly available, which will enable HANWASH to be held accountable for the work that it's doing. The other program that I'm really excited about is our engineering capacity building program, where we're looking to identify promising and motivated young engineering graduates within Haiti and provide them with professional mentoring and coaching and internship opportunities where they can apply their technical knowledge and develop the skills that they need to succeed. By creating that base of technical expertise within Haiti, we believe we can create the conditions for long-term success, where there will be people that are employable within the country to support the WASH projects that HANWASH is funding and rolling out over the coming 20 to 30 years. Yes, you heard me right. This is literally a generational project and with a bold and audacious vision. I believe that HANWASH has a recipe for success. The work we're doing is being done in a thoughtful way, using business-minded approaches to do our work well and to ensure we operate effectively and efficiently. But it's also using good practices from public health and from international development. Examples include our web-based data collection platform, which we use to create conversations with communities about where to target investments. We're also developing competitive and transparent procurement processes to hire suppliers and service providers to ensure that we get value for money. And finally, we're incorporating a pay-for-service philosophy into the systems we develop so that we can move the approach in Haiti from one of relief and charity to one of international development and sustainability. We want to ensure that communities place a value on what they're receiving so that systems can cover their operating expenses and ensure their continuity, and so that the community actually gets involved in its long-term management. These business-minded approaches feel like a connection back to my former life in finance and international business. Except now, with HANWASH, I truly feel like I can devote myself to a life of service that can make a difference. I guess before I end and hand the ball over to Neil, I just wanted to say that, for me, it feels extremely auspicious to join HANWASH this year, because in a way it takes me full circle back to when I started the Peace Fellowship and the dreams that I had for changing the world, working with Rotary and using my Peace Fellowship to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. I think before we do any additional project updates, does anyone have any questions for Ryan? We can feel free to raise your hand or to put them in the chat if you have a question. Anyone? I'm looking. Els, feel free to go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Yeah, Ryan, I was wondering, with your Peace Fellowship, did you had also, and with all the studies you did you had also contact with IHE Delft? The water and sanitation, the only university in the world actually who giving a master degree program in water and sanitation.
I've been in touch with a couple of the graduates and students at the time, but not with the leadership or in the design of the curriculum, but I am familiar with it and their partnership with Rotary. Yeah.
Because they are still having the Rotary scholarships going on. I think they graduated about 110 scholars. So I was wondering if there was a connection now and also can help out with the program of HANWASH.
Yeah, so it's good that you mentioned it. So it's been on my mind to reach out to them and see if we could be potentially a source or provide some opportunities for internships, for example, for their students, or get them involved in some way, or collaborate with them one way or the other.
Do you have any contacts? I can give you any contacts if you need that.
No one specifically. I would love that. Thank you so much. Great.
Well, if you get me, I will get your email address and I'll send you some contacts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Els. Any other questions for Ryan at the moment? Peter Verbeek.
Thank you so much, and how exciting to have you in this position. Congratulations. One of the things you addressed, and I think what the HANWASH community has done as well, is I think many of us call empowerment, where the beneficiaries, for a better word, putting skin in the game, and sustainability. Can you address that a little bit? Because I know we've got that as part of the program, but many of us are feeling that when we contribute funds to these projects, that it's not the old give it away, and then they call you, oh, it broke down, the training portion. All that sounds very exciting, and love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you a little bit about the different components, but Neil would be able to give you a little bit more detail about the model that they've implemented through Haiti outreach in Haiti over a long period of time. But there's different ways in which we get skin in the game. There's the WASH committee, where you have local representatives from the community that are involved in the governance of the water system, for example. There's the really early consultations and formative research, where we we discuss with them what their priorities and what their needs are. We're doing that process right now in the different communes where we're working. We're consulting with the local mayor's office, we're consulting with the regional wash authorities, we're bringing local community leaders to the table, we're working with the Rotary Club. In fact, in our model in HANWASH, the Rotary Club is a facilitator of that whole process, that community engagement process. And then the other thing I mentioned was the pay for service mentality. So, you know, it's generally accepted that it's not possible to recover the capital expenses of water and sanitation infrastructure. It's rare. It's in the world, but we are aspiring. Aspiring is the key word, to cover operating expenses, and for communities to pay a fee that would cover to a certain extent. And we've seen the data that Haiti Outreach has collected has led to, I believe, a surplus of about $85,000 over the wash facilities that Haiti Outreach has worked on in Haiti over the last 10 to 15 years. So the model, it does work, and we are looking to replicate it and scale it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Any other questions for Ryan? Otherwise, feel free if you have questions throughout to just put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over now to Neil Van Dyne to share a few specific project updates as well.
Sure, thank you, Kathy, and greetings, everyone. It's great to be here on a quarterly update, and especially on World Water Day, where we celebrate the need to bring water to everyone in the world, and HANWASH is specifically about bringing it to everyone in Haiti. So it's great to be here this evening. I apologize for being a little bit late. We had a massive storm come through and give us a ton of water. So, Ryan, are you going to pull up a couple slides? And while you do that, I'm going to address what you were just talking about. The idea of pay for service and being able to manage and maintain that wash infrastructure is really key and core. It's one of the core values of what we deal with here at HANWASH. And so when we talk about the idea of pay for service, we can create infrastructure that can be managed for as little as $45 a year. Now, for $45 a year, we can serve 250 to 300 people over the course of that year. So the budget for a family household is roughly about 70 US cents per month per family. So that's roughly the cost of a Coke in Haiti. So a family can either buy a Coke or they can have access to water for an entire month. The infrastructure that we use to bring water to people's houses is more expensive. If we're going to lift it out of the ground and push it through a pipe to someone's house, it costs roughly 10 times that. So we're looking at about $7 US a month for a family to have water at their house. In our project portfolio here, you can see the Rotary logos dedicating our 22 Rotary clubs across Haiti. These are our partners on the ground. These are the Rotarians that are leading the conversation on the ground and shifting the conversation within their communities away from pure charity to a charity model that includes pay for service. Where we have programs in progress in Cayes in the south, being led by the Rotary Club of Cayes. We're going to hear from Robert here in a short while. Ferrier in the northeast, being led by the Cayes Rotary Club in tandem with District 5060, covering Washington State and Canada. Pignon, where I live, this is being water system repair. Those programs together are all delivering piped water to households in the village centers. As Ryan mentioned, we have this program we're launching with ONIPA, the National Observatory, to update and register again every water point in the country, every spring, every fountain, every well, every water system. The exciting things about this is if we're gonna harvest water to give to families, we also need to plant water. That is the motto of the Ministry of Environment, with which we're about to sign an MOU. He wants to work with us and us to work with him to actually harvest rainwater, make sure we're recharging the aquifers, we're using the aquifers in a sustainable way. And the other communes you see here, Léogâne, Les Cayes, Terre-Neuve, and Croix-des-Bouquets, are programs that are in process. Go ahead, Ryan.
Kathy's controlling the slides, so
Okay, no problem. In Pignon, this is the one that's closest to being ready to go. The total funds mobilized to date are about $220,000 out of 366 needed. This is a project being built on an engineering concept report, and it includes upgrading the town water system away from a diesel-fired generator to a solar-powered pump, and also finding new ways to create district metered areas and leak detection technologies. The water system in Pignon operates losing 70% of the water it pumps every day. They pump around 25,000 gallons of water a day and are only able to sell 4 because the rest is lost to leakage. So a very key component of this program is to find the leaks, create leak detection tools, and create district metered areas that will allow us to manage that. Next slide. Ferrier, this is the one I mentioned in the Northeast. We are currently raising money for this grant. It is around $500,000. The engineering concept report was funded and completed, as was a hydrogeological assessment. This is an area in the northeast corner of Haiti, right on the border with the Dominican Republic, that has massive saltwater ground infiltration into the aquifer. So effectively, this entire area of around 1,000 households has no access to potable water. In fact, many of these houses cross into the Dominican Republic and pull water out of the cattle troughs in the Dominican Republic to carry back to their homes. This proposed water system will serve 5,500 people. Right now, we're going to be doing phase 1, which include more geologic assessments, siting and drilling of a large borehole, and outfitting it with a large, roughly 14 horsepower pump to provide water to these villages. The total cost would be around $1.8 million. One of the most interesting ones we have coming up is Léogâne. Some of you who have been around Haiti for a long time will remember Léogâne was the epicenter of the earthquake in 2010. The Rotary Club there is being led by a really strong group, including the past president and current assistant governor, Fritz Pierre-Louis. They have reached out and connected with the mayor's office and signed an MOU, or signing an MOU with District 5130 to champion this cause. We are currently working with the government to register all the water points and create a commune action plan to launch that. Right now, they are looking at all kinds of initiatives, including bringing the municipal water system online that would serve around 15,000 households. Go ahead. The last one, and I'll just talk about it briefly, is Cavaillon. Cavaillon was our very first pilot commune. You guys have heard me talk about that before. We have just last month received word that our grant number 2 has been approved for Cavaillon. To date, we've mobilized over $500,000 for Cavaillon. We have 2 programs in course right now. There are 4 wells improved. It includes Wash in Schools initiative. And this next grant is a rehabilitation of the existing town water system that will serve about 5,000 people. And we have upcoming a rural water project put together by the mayor and the leadership of the commune, based and extracted from information on the commune action plan. The existing water system right now has about 80% non-revenue water. That means for every 1,000 gallons they pump, they lose 800 gallons. So as I mentioned in Pignon, we will be doing a district metered areas with control valves and leak detection technologies, including bringing online a large solar well to bring another 40 or 50,000 gallons of water into the city every day. So I'm going to hand this off now to Robert. Past District Governor Robert has held, I think, every office that can be held in his Rotary Club in Cayes. And he is the current HANWASH ambassador and one of the founders of the HANWASH initiative. Robert, tell us a little bit about Cavaillon.
Okay, first of all, happy wash day, water day to all of you. And I can say that Cavaillon, it's a very good pilot project, and we hope it will be the model to follow for all the clubs, you know. And our club is really excited to work with HANWASH. And the way we have worked up to now is to work closely with the local authorities, mayor, AZEC, KAZEC, work closely with the OREPA. OREPA is for the south of Haiti, that's the DINEPA section controlling all the south of Haiti. And so when Haiti outreach on the ground let us know that the wells are drilled, so we went to make the evaluation of the beneficiaries. We went together. I didn't go only with the Rotary Club members. We have two other clubs in close to Cayes, Rotary Club of Camperin and Rotary Club of Aquin, and they have their HANWASH ambassadors. So together we went and we make the evaluation of the beneficiaries. And that was very, very interesting to see how the people were prepared by Haiti Outreach to receive their wealth. And so we have questions to ask and they answered, and about management, how they are ready to manage their wealth. And one of the conditions to receive the wealth was that they should have all their one latrine per family to make sure they have also a hand wash station so to wash their hands after serving in the latrine. And in Creole, they call it waka. Waka is wate ate kaba. That means that no more fecalism in the open air like that anymore. So, and they were all proud to say that we almost 100% waka. So we are very pleased. And the concept to manage their water system, so it's a paper service, they say that they cannot depend constantly on Rotary or HANWASH after the funds or the project is completed. So the concept is in their mind. And we have also visiting regularly the private operator that is managing the water system in the city of Cavaillon. They have some trouble, some problem. And we share that with Haiti Outreach, and they plan to have a training for them. You have to see that we have a very two difficult years, mostly the last one, not only political situation, but also the COVID situation. So we understand that with them. They gave us a report, and they have the administrative support, financially speaking, from HANWASH, and they are going to receive also another support, $7,000 from HANWASH, so they can not only settle their action plan, but also they will go to Pignon receiving training with Haiti Outreach, how to manage better their system in Cavaillon. Also, it's important to have the Rotary Club working together with the OREPA. For example, we had an issue where the company drilling the wells has drilled and had sent their authorization form to get the green light. But it seems that in the office of the OREPA South, they say they did not receive it. So I was the intermediary between our partner, Hope for Haiti, who signed the contract with Water for Life, and Water for Life CEO, by chance, he is one of my friends, and the director of the OREPA. I put them together, and it seems that the form was done or was written since last October or November, and they found it finally, and everything was settled down, everything was okay. But that's important that we as Rotarians to be present to make sure everything goes smoothly. That's important. Another thing, it's the letters of engagement. and our clubs, our Rotary Club of Lake has signed the letter of engagement with HANWASH, where all the members are aware of HANWASH. And we constantly in our meeting have one in the agenda, HANWASH, I make the update to the members. For the Water Day, we will have our next meeting. Well, we move it on Sunday. It's not definitely, but Sunday we are going to have a nice lunch party because it will be our anniversary of the club anniversary, but also to mark the wash day. And I will talk about hand wash with the slides to show where we are. And some clubs in Haiti already raised funds for hand wash. My club, for example, already has fund $1,000 put there for hand wash, specifically for hand wash. And we call it Erie hand wash. That we imitated the foundation term, every Rotarian every year hand wash. That's the way we call it. And all of them are so happy. In one day, $1,000 was there for hand wash. And we're already trying to collect more for next year. So we want that when there is a next global grant, the Haitian club has to participate also, and they want to participate. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't want to tell that officially yet, but all the clubs want to put something together and send that to HANWASH. So we here in Haiti, the Rotarians are really excited about that. Another part, I think that Neil talked about already about the global grants. And so I think that's it for the moment. I don't know if there is more details I forgot. Neil, you will tell me.
Thank you, Robert. Neil, do you have anything to add before we jump into questions?
Nope. I see we have a couple questions here, so.
We do, and I believe the first one I'm going to turn over to you, unless you want to refer to someone else. And the question is reverse osmosis being evaluated as an option for those areas with saltwater intrusion?
So yeah, it's a great question. We did look at that option. Right now, the challenge with reverse osmosis is it's fairly high operating costs going forward. We're working, one of our partners in this is a group called Give Power, and they have a unique solar powered solution for reverse osmosis. We evaluated the possibility of using it in this situation, but the math just doesn't work for the situation. There is fresh water a couple kilometers inland from where this village is. So it's easier and ultimately cheaper over time to deliver it from this area without doing reverse osmosis.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. Do we have any other questions about any of the projects or to Ryan or any of the technical aspects? We are reserving the last 20 minutes of this session for question and answer. So now's the time to get your burning questions answered. We're a quiet group this evening.
Right. No burning questions.
Please.
Els, do you have a question?
Yeah, Ryan's email in the chat room, please.
Oh, sure. Let me drop
Sure.
it.
Okay, Ryan's email.
So,
and
yeah.
then John would like to have us talk about our partnerships. John, would you like to jump in and talk about our partnerships?
No, like always, I always like to hear Neil talk about our partnerships.
Yeah, well, sure, I'm happy to do that. We have one thing we declared very early on that we didn't want to do was to make HANWASH just another NGO. We don't want to have a team doing the physical construction on the ground, because while that's possible and while Rotarians are dedicated to service and capable, highly technical people around the world, we could physically do all that. But the question then becomes, how long do we have to do that for? Do we do it for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years? Because at the end of the day, the Haitian people themselves need to take this over and drive it forward. So with that in mind, we're using HANWASH and creating that as an umbrella institution that pulls in partners and aligns them with our core values. And I see some familiar faces on the screen here. I see the team from Operators Without Borders, who's working with us in Pignon to design a set of standard operating procedures to drive this forward in a systematic way. That if we can create standard operating procedures in French and Creole for these water system operators, we'll have the possibility of training them to go forward, not only in the operation of systems, but in the installation of pumps and the installation of valves and designing water systems and leak detection and so on and so forth. We're working with Water Missions, who's bringing their expertise and redesigning their solutions to help us design a standard solution set for pumping water with solar. They and their fantastic team have been working with us to design the solution in Pignon. I already mentioned Give Power. We're also in conversations with World Vision and UNICEF and USAID as partners. These are the groups that really drive things forward and offer an opportunity to leverage our Rotary Foundation funds on a much larger scale. So I don't know, John, if there's anything else that I missed in that conversation, but ultimately the final partner here is the Haitian people. And as Ryan mentioned at the beginning of the conversation here, I think that the program we have, while we're bringing people water, the program that has the largest potential to drive things forward is this engineering capacity building program. Tying Rotarian and other engineering mentors with local driven engineers here to train them and essentially create a source of world-class engineers in Haiti. And these are the ones that are going to design these water systems. They're going to manage the water systems. They're going to diagnose these water systems that allow us to step away in the future. That's the most exciting thing in my world that's going forward.
Might
Thank
also
you.
be worthwhile to mention the partnership with the Ministry of Environment, which I think is quite interesting. Yeah,
well, sure. I'm happy to talk about that too. I mentioned that a little bit in my talk, the Ministry of Environment and the minister's motto of needing to plant water to harvest water. If we're going to pull water out of the aquifers, then we need to plant that water as well. And so while we as partner there, we're about to sign an MOU with the Minister of Environment, but we're also pulling out another group of Rotarians here, the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. Has been meeting with us and will be taking these programs on and driving them forward, these environmental programs. And if they include soil conservation and planting trees and identifying recharge zones, these are the programs that will tie in with the new area of focus as of July 1. So, you know, it's nearly impossible to share all these partnerships in one short call, but it's exciting every day to have these guys be on board. The government officials for data collection, both in environment and in water and sanitation, are now joining the weekly calls with our monitoring and evaluation team. So I see the question here, what does it mean to plant water? So the minister had created that as a simple way of saying that if we want to pull water from the ground, if we're going to drill a well and extract water from the aquifers, those aquifers have a place where they're recharged. In other words, when it rains, it doesn't necessarily charge the aquifer right there. It might be 5 or 10 miles away where that aquifer is recharged. But if we're going to extract water from that aquifer, we need to figure out ways to get it into the ground where it recharges. And usually that means planting trees, but in this case, it'll mean planting trees in strategic locations that will help water infiltrate in the areas that charge the aquifers where we're going to extract it. So we'll be working with geologists and hydrogeologists to target those locations, plant trees, do soil conservation and other such programs, specifically targeting those areas.
Thank you, Neil. We have a couple other questions here. I think I'll direct the next one towards Ryan first. How are decisions made on relative priority across a vast series of problems across Haiti?
That's a great question. So I think first of all, you know, we're working in water and sanitation, which has links to, you know, a number of different other areas like health and education and economic development. So we're often approached by organizations that are working in areas that are, you know, linked tangentially to the work that we're doing in water and sanitation. And, you know, all of us have a deep caring for the Haitian people. We want to support, you know, improved access to opportunity, but at a certain point we have to sort of be mindful that our focus is really on water, sanitation, and hygiene in the initial period. So that's our first criteria: is, you know, is it within our core focus, our core mandate? But within that remit, you know, there are 144 communes in Haiti, and you know, we have to figure out where we're going to work first and how we're going to prioritize our interventions. So we do that process in partnership with the government. We talk to them about what their priorities are in terms of delivering water and sanitation access throughout the country. How can we support them? And in partnership with them, we identify communes of interest. One of the criteria that has proven very useful for us is thinking about where there is an established and strong local Rotary club to be able to support that whole community engagement piece. There are 22 Rotary clubs across Haiti. The 7 pilot communes where we are working initially are characterized by having strong local Rotary presence where there is a club that we can work with, and that's been part of the recipe, or the sort of the checklist.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Mike, for that question. We have another question from R, and that is, how much is solar a part of our projects? How much is the maintenance of the different projects? Neil, would you like to take that one?
Sure. You know, in Haiti, the short answer to that is that solar is the way to go in Haiti. Being in a tropical country, the relative cost of solar makes it a no-brainer in terms of the ability to pump water. Well, what we have out here are legacy systems that are set up to run on diesel fuel. So the project in Pignon specifically is about shifting that away from diesel powered generator to a solar power pumping. That alone will cause a shift in about $500 or $600 a month US in the budget of the water system operation. So obviously everywhere we can do solar, I think is going to be solar is going to be a part of every project that we have going forward.
Thank you, Neil. Do we have any other questions about any of our projects or processes? Peter Verbeek.
Yes, thanks. I'll take Verbeek as well, which what most people.
Verbeek, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. On the sanitation portion, I'm wondering about a lot of communities in Haiti not having any sanitation at all, where open sewers contribute to the degradation of soil and aquifers. Can you address a little bit with regard to looking at some of those, the communities, and how you mitigate that situation to make sure that there is long-term preservation of it?
Sure, absolutely. So there's two conversations when you talk about sanitation. One is the rural sanitation, the other is the urban and municipal sanitation framework, right? In the rural context, Robert spoke to that, where we're putting in rural water supplies, where people are walking to do that. These are the folks that are going to build and manage latrines in that conversation. And effectively, every community that we install a well for with a hand pump, in every one of those communities, nearly 100% of the houses are going to build a latrine before that well is inaugurated. So in those areas, what we find is that people tend to, once that latrine fills up, they'll dig another one nearby and cover that one, plant a tree, and so on and so forth. Now, with regards to the municipal and urban sanitation frameworks, I can tell you that there is not one single sanitation network in the country of Haiti, not even in the capital of Port-au-Prince. We do have, as a part of our plans for Pignon, to look at an engineering concept report, engineering feasibility study to build a sanitation network, pipe sanitation network that would be gravity fed in Pignon. Pignon kind of has a unique topology that we think that we can build a pipe sewage network without need to have pumping and use bio dead wastewater treatment through gravity ponds to do that. So that would be a first of its kind in country if we were able to make it work. So that is part of the upcoming project for Pignon.
Thanks,
Thank
Neil.
you. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Peter, for the question. We have a question from Patrick Sloan, and I think I'll direct this to either Robert or Neil. Would anyone like to comment on the current political situation and how it affects HANWASH efforts, short-term and long-term? So how do we plan for it, i.e. planting good governance along with trees and water?
Robert.
I will try to answer part of it and you will continue, Neil. Yeah, planting good governance, you know, that's always say that. Everyone see the situation in Haiti now. You don't have to see it now. You have to see back in history. You know, they had been planting bad governance. You all have kids or grandkids. If you take your car keys and you give that to my grandkid, he has 6 years old, and I tell him, hey, start driving my car, what will happen? I will take my notes. First, he's going to hit my gate. Second, the first person walking outside, you're going to kill him, and after that, so and so. So the same thing happened to Haiti. It was bad planting, bad governance. So you have that result. Okay, now the second part, what can we do? That's the big brothers needs to answer this question. The big brothers are the big power, geopolitically speaking. I cannot answer this question, but I can tell you for HANWASH, that's different because the Rotary doesn't mix with politics. All our clubs have survived. They have survived because we are not in politics and everyone knows about Rotary. We are here voluntary people to serve the country, to serve the people, to change the lives of the people positively. So that's why we have survived so many instability in Haiti. So what for HANWASH? HANWASH, so we are going to continue with the same philosophy. We never talk about politics in our meetings. We plan together with the government. The government will pass, but the institution will stay. We can have OREPA and DINEPA. You can have these are technical positions, but also political positions. So we expect anytime they can change the director or they can change the administrator, but the institution will stay. And so the MOU with the DINEPA and OREPA is a MOU where the people can change, but the concept will stay. That's all I can say. I would like Neil, if you want to continue some more comments.
Sure, that's a fantastic explanation, Robert, and it's a great question, Pat. In any of our worlds, where whatever it is that we're doing in our business, that you can't manage what you don't measure. And what we bring to the table is a set of tools that allow us to measure this. It allows us to measure and say, look, here is where people have access and here is where they don't. So by introducing these tools, by introducing the ideas of pay for service, we're planting that concept of sound governance in every water system that we build, in all the water infrastructure that we build. And what we found over the years is that the kids in these communities start growing up in a new conversation. They grow up in a conversation where their parents are being responsible for managing a communal water supply. And that's a shift. That's a generational shift. We need to do this for years. We need to do this for decades and keep that conversation of sound management alive. Because if we can keep it alive on a local level, we can keep it alive on a national level.
Thank you very much, Neil. We have a question from Valerie Jenkinson on the sanitation side. have containerized systems been considered?
There is a group called Soil, SOIL, that's done a bunch of work. They did a bunch of work after the earthquake. They've done a bunch of work in the Cape Haitian area specifically, setting up containerized sanitation in the dense urban parts of Cape Haitian in the north, and then composting that byproduct. The model is a potential solution in very dense urban environments. So that is one possibility out there. That's really the only one I'm familiar with in the country right now. It doesn't really work outside of very dense urban environments.
Okay, thank you, Neil, and thank you, Valerie, for the question. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for the last few minutes to share a little bit more about our hand wash structure. Ryan, would you like to have the last 4 minutes?
Sure. Well, I don't know if I'll take all 4 minutes, but I wanted to just sort of tell a little, folks a little bit about how we work. How do we get this all done? Because, the last 3 years, HANWASH has been building itself based on a volunteer-driven team, Rotarians who have come together in groups small and large to work on different initiatives to create the structure for HANWASH. I wanted to show you a little bit about what that structure looks like so you can get a better idea of what it takes to take it, an initiative like HANWASH and turn it into an organization. If you can see my screen here, you should see a Word document with a table showing the subcommittee leadership. You all see that? Yep. Okay. So we have a structure of basically we have a board of directors. We have composed of 12 individuals from around the Rotary world. We have a steering committee which meets once a week with approximately 30 to 40 people. And those individuals make up the subcommittees, which are really the workhorse or the engine of HANWASH. Those subcommittees are composed of 11 different thematic areas. And they volunteer as part of those committees, and they meet sometimes once or twice a week to work on different things that help HANWASH basically create a structure, create the processes, the standard procedures to get work done. We are assembling the work of these different subcommittees into a professional business plan, which we intend to publish on our website over the course of this summer and use that for fundraising. But I mean, for example, we have a subcommittee on legal and charitable affairs, which looks at how we govern ourselves. How do we, for example, the legal wording in partnership agreements. We have a finance and admin committee, which reviews our budget and approves the payments of invoices. Kathy leads our marketing and comms committee, which takes care of the website, social media, events like this one. We have fund development, which is chaired by John Smarge, which handles fundraising and global grants, and so on and so forth. And so, we have opportunities, and you can see here on the right-hand side that these subcommittees are led by folks with leadership experience from within Rotary, past district governors, past presidents, assistant governors, and bringing that sort of that Rotary philosophy of organizing projects to the way HANWASH works. And this is what I like to call affectionately the HANWASH engine. It's really what makes this all work. And my goal is basically to provide some guidance on the priorities, where we should be focusing our efforts. So, if you know someone who likes to get involved in charitable initiatives, things that will deliver, sustainable social impact, that will be really powerful, that are making a splash in the Rotary world, HANWASH is open for business. We welcome folks who'd like to get involved. If you know a lawyer, for example, a graphic designer, if you know someone who is an accountant, or someone who likes project management, or is really fascinated by community level work and would like to get involved in drafting a survey tool, for example, we have so many opportunities for folks to get involved. So please think of a friend in your network that may be interested in getting involved with this amazing HANWASH initiative. And we'll drop them a line to join us for our weekly steering committee meeting on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And we thank all of you for participating in our quarterly HANWASH update this evening. Thank you, Ryan, and to Robert, and to John, and to Neil for all participating, as well as all of the rest of you who have asked some wonderful questions. If you have any other questions for us, feel free to reach out at any time. I think we're a fairly friendly bunch who would love to get you the answers that you are looking for. Or if you'd like to get involved, as Ryan said, please reach out to us as well. So with that, I bid you a wonderful evening and thank you very much. On Happy World Water Day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Kathy.
Thank you all. Good night.